that I know what you're gonna pick, but we'll see. Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Nellie. If you're new here, hello, I'm so glad that you're here. Today we're gonna be filming one of my favorite videos, if not my favorite video to film every single month, and that is where we pick my monthly TBR. And today I really mean we, because if you've noticed that I don't have my TBR cart or my jar next to me, it's because we're doing something a little bit different today. And if you saw the polls in my community, then you would know that you guys, that's right, you guys, my subscribers, are picking my August TBR this month. I got the idea for this video from Sarah Caroli. I always love seeing her polls where her followers on Instagram can choose between two different books to be able to pick what's going to be on her TBR, and I thought that'd be so fun because I feel like I'm getting a little bit of TBR jar fatigue, which, by the way, if you guys have a unique way that you want to see me pick my TBR for the month of September, which also coincidentally is my birthday month, then please let me know in the comments below, because I want to keep doing things that are just fun, unique, maybe not the same every single time, and that also is more fun for you guys to watch. So be thinking of that as we go throughout today's video. Basically what I did was I ended up putting 7 different polls as posts on my YouTube community where I put different books going up head to head, and the only thing that I really gave you guys to go off of was some emojis. So I'm so excited because this kind of helped me curate what I'm going to be reading, but also totally leave it up to you guys at the same time. So without further ado, let's just get right into this video. We're going to start with poll number 1, which also, this is the first time I'm seeing the results of these polls. I wanted to be able to react on camera with you guys to see what would win, so it makes it even more exciting for me. For the first poll, I ended up putting head to head 2 books that are very widely loved. I would say they're more contemporary fiction. I have heard so many people talking about these books over the past few years, and I just haven't gotten around to them, but I feel like this month it's time to pick one of them up. The first one is Blue Sisters by Coco Malors, and this book is about 4 sisters. One of them passes away. It's a very unexpected death that is really hard on, obviously, the other sisters who are left behind. And a year later, their family home or apartment that they were raised in New York City is about to be sold, and the 3 of them come back to New York and they kind of want to stop the sale. And during that time, they are all going through really hard things. I know there's themes of addiction in this, but they all come back together, and it's supposed to be a very raw story of these sisters and their healing, which is not going to look very pretty. And I have really liked family drama for some reason. I don't like it in my life, but for some reason I like to read about it. So I've really been wanting to pick this one up. It's also just a stunning cover. There's something about this cover that I just find so beautiful, but I really like covers I found with paintings on the front of it. For Blue Sisters, the emojis I picked, I believe, is like a girl or 2 girls, and then I ended up picking this blue city emoji because they're going back to New York City, obviously, and it was light blue, which I felt like matched the vibe of the cover. I also picked a dove because that just kind of reminded me of like grief and healing. I didn't want to put a skull because that seemed very Halloween themed, and then a blue heart to put on the cover. So yeah. The next book that I did put it up against is The Favorites by Lane Fargo. And this one is one that I really feel like I should have read during the Winter Olympics earlier this year. I said I was going to. I even picked it up off my shelf and put it on my side table, and then I just never got around to reading it. But I've heard so many good things about this. I've heard it's truly a page turner. Like, you don't want to put this book down. The way that it's written is sprinkled with interviews as well. I don't know if it's all in interview format or if it's just sprinkled in there, but I love reading about ice skating for some reason. Another book that I absolutely loved because of the ice skating was From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata. And this book is more of a contemporary fiction, I believe. It's messy. It's about these 2 figure skaters who have been partners. I think they cross the lines and have an actual relationship, and that blurs lines, and obviously they're both in the headlines as well, so that adds another layer. And then I think what happens is during one of the Olympic games that they're in together, something like a scandal happens. It ends their partnerships, and then 10 years later they are back in each other's orbit because of a documentary documentary, and so we're kind of getting the then now timeline, and we'll see. I could be totally wrong on this, but these are the books that I gave you to pick from. And then for the favorites, I feel like these emojis were probably so easy for you guys to tell what this book was, but I just put, an ice skating shoe. I put a gold medal. I put a TV because it reminded me of like a documentary. And then also I put like a heart on fire for like a messy kind of toxic relationship. And the winner of poll 1 is, The Favorites by Lane Fargo. I am actually really excited about this. I have been in the mood for more page turners. Like, I want to be in a book that really just has me from the get-go, just keeps me turning pages. I'm really, really intrigued about the format of this and it just being part of it in obviously interviews for this documentary and then part of it being back in the timeline of what happened. So the first book on my August TBR is going to be The Favorites by Lane Fargo, and I'm really excited about that. For poll number 2, I ended up picking 2 books to go head to head. One which is a fantasy romance and the other one which is a sci-fi romance, which I feel like I don't read a lot of. Both of them are sequels to series that I've been wanting to continue. The first one that I put on the poll is The Fractured Dark by Megan E. O'Keefe. This is a book that I've talked about way too much and still haven't read. This is actually a series that was introduced to me from listening to one of my favorite bookish podcasts, which is I'll Read What She's Reading. Reggie really, really liked this series, and the way that she described it made me think that I could like it. It's very, very approachable for sci-fi. I feel like if you're somebody who likes yearning and romance in your fantasy, I think that this would be a good one to try if you're wanting to get into sci-fi. I haven't even mentioned what it's about, but it's essentially about our 2 main characters, one of which is kind of like a rebel leader who had been put on ice for the things that she was saying against a really, really powerful family who is in charge of what they call reprinting process. In this book, mankind is looking for a new viable planet. I believe they're all living on like a space system, some type of what is the word that I'm looking for? Anyways, they're living in outer space and they're looking for a viable planet to be able to go down and obviously populate and live on. And at the same time, they have access to this technology where it's kind of like you could 3D print a body. So if you're getting sick or if you're aging, you could transfer your consciousness into this body that's printed. And we have our female main character who has made some connections in her head and alleges that this reprinting process is actually causing viable planets to die. This all happens before even the first page of the first book. It's described very quickly, so this isn't a spoiler, but essentially she ends up being printed into the bodyguard of the man who put her in jail. So tensions are high, and the 2 of them, along with other people, end up crash landing on this very eerie planet, and they're trying to survive. They're trying to get back to their space station, and they have to end up relying on each other even though they're enemies. And obviously there's this element of secrecy because he doesn't know who she truly is because of the body that she's in. There's really great yearning in this, and the story was really, really cool. So I've been really wanting to continue this one, and I definitely need a push to do so. For this book, I ended up picking a space station emoji and stars in a sky. I also picked a purple heart just because of the purple that's on this cover and a planet. The next book is book 2 to Heavenly Bodies. This is Fallen Stars by Amani Ariu, and this is a fantasy romance where there are different kingdoms, and every single kingdom is tied to a season or a time of day, which obviously if you're a fantasy reader, you've read things like that before, but in this one specifically, it's really interesting because the gods in this world are stars. In the first book, our female main character is fleeing from a star that she is fated to marry and then become his demise. And so he has come into their kingdom of night, I believe is where she's from, and he slaughters basically everybody. She escapes to the neighboring kingdom of, I want to say day or light or something like that, and is basically relying on them to help protect her while she learns how to use her magic so that they can then launch an attack on this very dangerous god or star or whatever you want to call him. The beginning of the book had me hooked immediately. I thought it was going to be a 5-star read. It did end up being a 5-star read for me, but I still feel like that story really, really drew me in. I really, really enjoyed it. And there's been no real reason why I haven't picked up this book. In fact, the cliffhanger at the end of the last book was very, very intriguing to me, and I really want to see where it goes from here. I've heard this is going to be a long series, but I don't know that our female main character and our male main character are necessarily going to be the protagonists in every single book, so I'm intrigued to see where it goes. And for this one, I ended up putting the same constellation emoji. I've also put the angel emoji because of the concept of the gods. I put swords just because it was a fantasy environment, and I also put a moon, again, the stars and the heavens and all of that are in this series. Maybe I'm leaning a little bit more towards the fractured dark just because I've had it for longer, but I also feel like this one could be something that I really highly rate depending on where we go with it, because again, I was so intrigued by the way that the first book ended. So I am kind of torn with this one. Okay, for the reveal, prompt number 2. Okay, you guys did end up picking Fallen Stars by Imani Ariu, which is really exciting because I am intrigued. I think that this book will be really, really telling on whether or not I'm going to be excited to continue this series like right when the third book comes out, or whether I'm just gonna read it, you know, whenever on my own time. Okay, so for prompt number 3, I actually picked a book that I don't own, but a book that is on my radar. I can't believe that I didn't pre-order it because it already came out, and I rated the last book 5 stars. I just enjoyed it so much. I'm gonna switch the order of what I've been doing things. I think I'm gonna tell you guys the emojis now, so it'll give you a second to see if you can guess, just in case you didn't see the emojis I already picked on the poll. But for this next book, I ended up picking a dove, a purple heart, a potion, a scroll, and a skull for this one. And this one was almost purely off of the cover of this next book, which is The Exquisite Torment of Loving Your Enemy. I read and loved The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Bridget, or I think you say Bridget Knightley. I just think it's so much fun. It's definitely a lot of, I would say, like British humor in it. There's definitely a lot of raunchy kind of humor in it as well, which normally is not my cup of tea, but for some reason, the way that she did it, I laughed. Like, I thought it was so funny. I think this book has such good banter in it and really feels like a true enemies to lovers as well. This book was based off of, I believe, like a Hermione fan fiction, but because I hadn't read that before, I was kind of able to just picture these characters as my own characters, brand new characters in my mind. In the first installment, we have our male main character, Osric, who is dying from an infection in basically the magical channels in his body. In this world, every person who's able to do magic has these magical channels. I almost picture them like veins where your magic runs in your body, and his, for some reason, are dying slowly, so his ability to do magic is going to be gone, and he's also going to perish when that happens. He is desperate for a cure, so he ends up going to the leader of the Order of Healers. But the thing is, he is from the Order of Assassins, and his order and the Order of the Healers do not mix. They hate each other. The Healers really look down on the Assassins for good reason, honestly, because they really do the opposite thing than the Healers devote their lives to, and they do it for coin, which they do not like. And so he is coming to the leader, and she ends up agreeing to assign her best healer to Osric in exchange for coin, because their efforts to heal, especially these children who are getting sick, they really do need money to be able to obviously further their efforts. And so that is how Osric meets Ariane. And Ariane is genius. She's a very good healer. She does not want to work with him, but she's assigned to. And so the two of them meet almost like every full moon or something like that to be able to try something new and experiment on him to be able to see if they can reverse the healing or not. And the two of them, they just can't stand each other. Again, their banter and conversation are so good. I've really, really been wanting to get to this next book. And if you guys choose that, it'll be a reason for me to go finally grab it. The next book that I picked, I ended up putting emojis that kind of made me think of dark academia. I put an emoji that kind of reminded me of like an ancient academy. I put a coffin, a chess piece, because that kind of also gives to me the dark academia vibes. I think I also put the infinity emoji for immortality, and like a dripping candle, because that also gives me dark academia vibes. And that book is Immortal Consequences by Ivy Marie. This is a book that I've had since it came out back in August. I still have not read it. I honestly thought it was a fantasy standalone until I went to the the library and I saw that book 2 is already out. I had no idea. And when I saw that, it made me think, you know what? Now is the time to read this book, because if I really like it, I can go directly into the next book in this series. From what I understand, this is a school setting, a dark academia setting, where these students are enrolled. They have all passed on, so they are not alive, and they're all at this academy, which gives them a chance to, at the end of the year, I believe one student ends up being able to get immortality by passing these trials. And so it's following 5 or 6 students who are in the middle of these trials, and it's about their relationships, and it also explores their relationships with the other students who we get their perspectives. But I've heard good things about it. I've also heard very mixed things about it, and I've been very, very intrigued. I really like a gothic dark academia setting. I also like fantasy worlds that include the afterlife. It's just very up my alley. So this is another one that if you guys pick this, it would definitely push me to read it. I think if I had to choose maybe one that I'm leaning towards a little bit more, it'd probably be The Exquisite Torment of Loving Your Enemy, just because I did really love that first book and I don't see myself not loving the second book. I also believe it's a duology, I think I want to say, but excited about that. But let's see what you guys chose for me on the poll. The winner of the poll is, drumroll please, The Exquisite Torment of Loving Your Enemy. That was a very close poll though. The Exquisite Torment got 52%, and then Immortal Consequences got 48%. So that was very, very close, and I'm really, really excited to be able to continue a series that I already really, really liked. So we're going to put this as a little placeholder for the next book in this series on my August TBR, but that's our third pick. Okay, for pick number 4, I ended up putting 2 YA books head to head. I have found myself really, really enjoying YA lately. I think it's just so easy to read. It's so fast paced. I rarely find myself slumping after a YA book because they're so quick paced. So I ended up picking 2 books off of my shelves that I haven't gotten to, but that I've been excited to read for 2 different reasons. The first one is a sequel to a series by an author that in the past I have binged the whole series within a week, and so I felt myself starting to slump, and I grabbed the first book to that series this past month in July, and I read it pretty much within a day. I didn't love it as much as the other series, but I still did enjoy it. I feel like it was definitely a page turner, definitely a palate cleanser, so I'm intrigued to continue in the series and kind of see where it goes, even though it wasn't necessarily the highest rated book last month. For this book, you could probably guess it based off of the emojis I'm going to give you now, but I ended up putting a green puzzle piece, a castle, a big bag of money, and a key. And that, of course, represents the first book to the Inheritance Games. And the second one is the one that you guys were picking for me. This is the Hawthorne Legacy. If you haven't heard of this series, you probably have, because I mean, it's been everywhere. I feel like it's been talked about a lot. With this series, it's about an underprivileged girl. I believe her mom's just passed away and she's living with her cousin, I want to say, but she ends up being told that she has been written into the will of this very wealthy, mysterious man, and he has just passed away and he's left her everything, but she has to live in his mansion for a year with his family who got written out of the will, including 4 mysterious brothers who were his grandsons. And this billionaire loved puzzles, loved just things like that. And so in the mansion, there's lots of hidden passageways and different puzzles and things like that. The first book, it was really, really a quick read, very easy. It definitely does read very, very, I will say that, which is not really my favorite. I read her other series, The Naturals, and I enjoyed that one more. I will say that one is also very, very wide, but I think I read it at a time where it was just the right timing. I'm intrigued to continue this series, and I just like having quick reads. I read so many books a month that I just feel like it's nice to have little quick ones here and there in between big, thicker books. So that is the first choice that I gave you guys. The second one that I gave you, ended up putting a snowflake, a mirror, a moon, and a castle. And that one I think might have been a little bit trickier for you guys to guess, because I haven't heard a lot of people talking about this series, but the people that I've heard talking about it Really, really love it. Again, it's another YA, and this I think is the last, I want to say, fantasy book that I put as an option for you guys on my TBR. But that book is A Winter's Promise by Christine. I don't know how to say her last name. I will figure it out before my next video, how to say that correctly. This is the Mirror Visitor series, the first book in that, and I've heard that it's really, really good from the people I have heard talk about it. I love the artwork on these books, and I also love the color scheme of all the books together, like just sitting on a shelf. I only have this one, but I saw them recently in Barnes & Noble again, and I've had this book probably for maybe close to a year now, and I haven't read it, but they're so beautiful, and I really need to stop cover buying. But I have heard this is really, really good, and on the back it says it evokes both the whimsy and the deep-seated sense of justice of the Harry Potter series. Margaret Rogerson, who I have also loved her YA fantasies, put as mesmerizing as a waking dream. Another person put fascinating characters, intricately constructed fantasy world, pulse-pounding suspense, and unlikely romance, which I love an unlikely romance if it's done well. And I've heard this is like steampunk, and this cover is kind of giving me like Treasure Planet a little bit, and I loved Treasure Planet as a kid, so I think I could love this. We'll see what you guys picked. I feel like from the emojis probably appealed more, and I really have been wanting to get to this, so we will see what you guys picked. Drum roll please, which by the way I've been having to like cover the side of my phone so that I can only see the emojis when I tell them to you guys, and then I could just reveal after that to see what won. But for this one, our winner is... Okay, so I knew it. I thought those emojis looked better together. You guys ended up picking for me A Winter's Promise by Christine. And again, I'm going to learn how to say her last name. I want to say DeBose, but that could be wrong. But this is going to be pick number 4 on our August TBR, and I'm excited to see what I think about this one. Hopefully I do love it. Okay, getting into more of our emotional kind of books that I gave you guys to choose between. For prompt number 5, I ended up giving you guys 2 books that I don't own but desperately want to go buy. So depending on which one you picked for me, we will go get this book and maybe read it in a reading vlog together if you guys are interested in that. But for the first book, I ended up giving the emojis, see if you can guess here, but of a person sleeping in a bed. I put a brain. I also put a little thought bubble and a light blue heart. And normally when I put the hearts on there, if you couldn't tell, it's just giving you a peek into what color the book cover is. This one is probably harder to guess, so I don't know if you guys could guess that one. So let me just reveal the cover for you here. But it's The Good Parts by Evan Normandin. I haven't seen a ton of people reading this book. In fact, on Goodreads, it only has 545 ratings. But the people who have read it, I have seen them boohoo crying. I have seen them raving about this book. And I'm just like, you know what? I need to read this. The summary just sounds so haunting. Our male main character gets this letter from the love of his life, Rose, and through this letter, he ends up finding out that she has decided to undergo this radical memory erasing treatment, and not only will she forget her grief and her past and her trauma, but she will also forget him. Obviously, because he loves her, the male main character, Landon, he just can't let her go, and so he's just convinced that if he meets her, they can fall in love together again, even if he can't remember her. And so this book is basically about that. And it just sounds so tragic and so beautiful at the same time. I just want to see love prevail, and I want to know more about this world where people can undergo these treatments to forget. And it just sounds so good. I really hope you guys pick this, but I also really hope that you pick the next read, which I really want to read. And part of me is like, whichever book you pick, I think I might just get both of them because they both sound so good. The next book I ended up picking, I saw somebody already guessed it in the comments, but this one I put a sunset emoji, a house, a fire, and a mended on the mend heart. And for this one, it is of course The Burning Side by Sarah DeMoff. I really want to go into her book blind just because I trust her so much. I read The Bright Years earlier this year. It is one of my favorite books of this year. I read it in one sitting. It was absolutely beautiful. I just felt so seen with some of the things that she wrote, and she just writes trauma and family things so beautifully. And I'm just so excited to see her do it again in The Burning Side. I cannot believe I haven't picked it up yet and read it, but I really wanted to wait until I was super in the mood to read it so I could give it the experience that it deserves. In this one, I know that it's about a husband and a wife, and they end up going through some really hard things, one of them being a house fire, and it's about seeing if they can make their way back to each other again. I'm sure it's going to be about so much more than that, but I think that it's just going to be really, really beautiful, and I would be shocked if it's anything less than a 5-star read. So let's see what you guys picked for me. I have a feeling that I know what you're gonna pick, but we'll see. Whoa, okay, almost in a landslide win, we have The Good Parts by Evan Normandin at 39%, and we have The Burning Side at 61%. So you guys have chosen The Burning Side for me by Sarah DeMoff, and I'm not even mad, because like I said, I want to read both of these books so freaking bad that I am totally fine with that. So the 5th book on our TBR is gonna be The Burning Side by Sarah DeMoff. For the next matchup, I put 2 books together, going head to head, that are going to be emotional reads that are technically romances, but also I would say contemporary fiction kind of mixed into there with them, or maybe they're just going to be messy or toxic. And yeah, so for the first one, I ended up putting a yellow flower emoji, a wilted rose, I put a frame, a gem, and the infinity symbol. That's probably going to be hard to guess unless maybe the yellow flower gave you a little bit of a hint and the frame gave you a hint, but that is of course Daisy Hates and the Great Undoing. This is the 4th book in the Magnolia Parks universe, and I recently finally finished the 3rd book, which was in Magnolia's perspective, and here we're going back into Daisy's perspective. It's a shorter book. I think I will get through it so quick, and I think I will love it because I really, really love Daisy's books. I think they're just a little bit less on the messy back and forth toxic scale. Not that they're not, because they 1000% are. But I'm really intrigued because I think that this covers the same time period in the last book that I read, but it's in Daisy's point of view. But we already saw Daisy and got to talk to her in Magnolia's book, so I'm intrigued to continue the series and like see how it's gonna go. But our next option is one that I haven't seen a ton of people read, but I've heard was really popular at one point. I think it was just like before my time on BookTube. But for that one, I ended up putting, as far as emojis, I put a wave, a camera, a light blue heart, I put a sun, and a crash emoji, and that is Pictures of You by Emma Gray. And I've had this for a really long time as well, for about a year. I still have not read it, but for this one, the tagline is, what would you do if you could start over? Imagine having a second chance with the one you never forgot. And it's about our female main character who should be grieving her dead husband, but she can't remember him because they both got into a car accident. He passed away, and now she does not remember. And the only person who can help her piece together her past is her high school best friend, Drew Kennedy. When snippets of her memory start falling into place, Evie wonders exactly how she ended up in a life that couldn't be further from the one she dreamed of. This time around, she's seeing all the things she missed and the life she gets to choose again. I'm really excited to read about this. I feel like it's going to be emotional, and I love a romance that has depth and has characters that we really dig into their lives, and they're not perfect, and so we're seeing that. So I've been really excited to read it, and I just think before summer ends, it's the time to read it, or else I'm not going to read it until next summer. Just because look at this, you don't really pick this up, I feel like, in the fall. That being said, I do really want to read this. Let's see what you picked. For prompt number 6, you guys ended up picking, drumroll please, Pictures of You by Emma Gray, and I'm so excited because, again, this is the time to read this book, I really feel, before we get into fall. I just don't think this is going to be a fall read, so I'm excited to see if this is going to completely be a romance, if she's going to end up with her best friend, or if this is just going to be just more of like almost like a second coming of age story where she's older, but she's now getting to live a different life and just make choices based off of what she thinks and what she wants. So excited for this one. If you've read this one, let me know what you thought of it. But this is going to be our 6th pick. We only have one more to go. For our next 2 books, they're not really related, but they are 2 books that I just had sitting on my shelf that I really do want to read very soon. For the first one, if you can guess it, I don't think you can, but we'll see. If you guess it, please let me know in the comments below. But for this one, I put a tree, a house, a frame, and a little like wheat emoji. I feel like without seeing the cover, and because this isn't super talked about, you probably won't guess what it is, but it's Life, Death, and Giants by Ron Rindo. This book was absolutely raved about by pretty much my favorite book talker, who's Brady Lockerbie. She gave this book 5 stars. She said it was absolutely incredible, and I added it to my Goodreads right away as soon as she talked about it. And then when I was in my favorite used bookstore, I came across this in the fiction section and just thought, you know what? For like $6, a beautiful, beautiful hardback with a stellar recommendation from somebody I trust, I have to get that. I've really been wanting to read it, but I also think this could give like August, September. Does that not give you those vibes? I don't know. You have to let me know. I feel like I'm gonna have to read the flap of this, because if I don't, I'm gonna butcher it. I recently went to tea with some friends. We did like a high tea for Emma Lyon's birthday, and I tried to describe this book to them, and it was absolute nonsense coming out in my mouth. And they were like, I'm so confused, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, you know what? Okay. But it probably makes sense for me more to read the summary of it if this is the one that gets picked, because I feel like the flap is very long. But all I'll tell you is it's supposed to be like a really inspirational read. The next book that I ended up picking for this poll, I ended up giving you guys a few emojis, and that one is a girl emoji, a light blue heart, a light blue city, and a ghost emoji. And for this one, I would be really surprised if you guessed it, but this is Seeing Other People by Emily Wibberley and Austin Segamond Broca. And this one really intrigued me because it's a magical realism, and if you've been here before, you know that I love magical realism. It's essentially about 2 people who are being haunted by their exes. We have our female main character, Morgan, who's being haunted by Zach. Morgan and Zach only ever went on one date, and now she's being haunted by him. Zach has no desire to spend eternity with Morgan, but he can't recall his past and doesn't know how to move on. So she ends up attending a support groups for humans and their haunters, and that's where she and Zach run into Sawyer, whose fiance turned ghost has started to fade. But unlike Morgan, Sawyer doesn't want his fiance to fade because he's having a hard time moving on. He wants her to stay. Even though they face opposite issues, Morgan and Sawyer decide to work together to solve their problems. And obviously, working together, they end up discovering maybe a little more of a deeper connection together. Really excited about this. This is also giving me very much summer vibes. I love the blue and the yellow, very much a covers by as well. But I haven't really heard anybody talking about this book. So I've been wanting to read more books that are like that I just pick on my own and not just because they've been recommended by other people. So I think this could be a really, really good choice to get into. But let's see what you guys decided. I'm pretty even on both of these. I don't think I'm like very torn one way or the other. So let's see what you picked. Okay, it was actually pretty close. At 48%, we got Life, Death, and Giants. And 53%, which is our winner and our 7th pick for our TBR, we got Seeing Other People, which is really exciting because I think this will be a good breakup of everything that we have, which I feel like is kind of giving a really balanced TBR. We've got 2 fantasy sequels. We are starting a new YA series because I actually am running out of series that I'm in the middle of. We have 2 romances, one magical realism and one that's more emotional. And then we have 2 contemporary fiction. So I feel like that's really, really well balanced. I'm excited about it. So just to recap the books that you guys picked for me, we have A Winter's Promise, which is a new series that we're starting, a fantasy series. We have Fallen Stars by Amani Ariu, a sequel to a book that I've really been meaning to get to. Then we have Pictures of You by Emma Gray, which I need to read before the summer is over. We also have Seeing Other People by Emily Wibberley and Austin Segamond Broca. We have The Favorites by Lane Fargo. We have the sequel to this book, which is going to be The Exquisite Torment of Loving Your Enemy. And last but not least, we also have The Bright Side by Sarah DeMoff. I feel like this is going to be a really, really good month of reading. Thank you to all those who participated in picking a book for me. Tell me about the book that you are most excited to read this August, and also the book that you're most excited to see me read of the picks that you guys did for me. I'm so excited. I feel like there's got to be at least 1 5-star in here, right? This will be the ultimate test to see if I can trust your guys' recommendations. Just kidding, I already do. But thank you guys for joining me on this video, picking my August TBR. Hopefully this was fun. Don't forget to leave me a comment below on a fun way to pick my September TBR, which is also my birthday month. Or if you don't know what to comment, you can always leave me a light blue heart emoji in the comments, because I think that was my most used emoji for you guys. But I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!